This podcast may contain paid advertisements, but more on that later. Welcome to the O'Connor Bootstrap Podcast, your go-to resource for unraveling the intricacies of business and leadership, honing in on the essence of bootstrapping a business from scratch. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur, a dedicated bootstrapper, or a leader navigating life's various challenges, this podcast is crafted just for you. I'm Isaiah O'Connor, your friendly neighborhood entrepreneur, and my mission is to guide you towards personal and professional growth. Let's embark on this journey together. Welcome back, everyone. And today we have the long-awaited interview with Teresa Posada. And this has been a long time coming. We had some technical issues. We had problems getting the recording. Fortunately, we did have a backup recording. I finally got that backup recording. And now, for your enjoyment, is my interview with Teresa Posada, starting now. Hello, and welcome to the O'Connor Bootstrap Podcast. Good morning.
Good morning.
First of all, what's your name and where did you come from, and all that good stuff? And a little introduction.
Sure. My name is Teresa Posada, and I am originally from the Chicagoland area. I currently live in upstate New York now. And would you like me to go further, or I can continue to tell you
Sure.
about my story?
If you can tell me a little bit about your story, about your business, how you kind of get started, because I see you posted you're an entrepreneur, you work in real estate, you're a business coach.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about how you got into the entrepreneur / real estate / business coach, which is quite the combo.
Sure. So my early career began in architectural drafting and design. I went to school in Chicago in the O'Hare Airport, Westwood College, and started to work for Home Depot as a kitchen designer. And then I went on to work for an engineering firm in Chicago for 5 years. I really, really loved the work. What I learned from working at the engineering firm was how to think systematically. And so I did that for 5 years, but I had a little bit of an itch to adventure more. Something inside me kind of welled up to the feeling of needing to go out and do something different. So I actually married my childhood sweetheart, and we became pregnant with my first daughter. And my husband was in the oil and gas industry. He was what's called a welder helper. That's the person that assists the welder. And he told me that he could make a lot more money if he was working in the field. However, I thought that it would be better if we stayed together as a family. So I decided to join him in commuting in the oil and gas industry. While doing that, I realized that there is a lot of needs in the industry for supplies and support for the gentlemen who are working in the field, because they work 12, 15 hours a day, 7 days a week, away from home. So a lot of times if they're ordering things, they're shipping it to a post office that is typically closed by the time they get out of work. So when I seen that there was a little bit of a gap in the market, I decided that when we went into Ohio that I was going to open up a store. We bought our first building. It was 18,000 square feet, located in Cadiz, Ohio, a very large, beautiful, old 1800s building. And we began production. So that was actually the beginning of buying properties for us. That was the very first investment property that we had purchased. We didn't even own a home at that time. We had rented locally. And so when we purchased that property, we did a seller financing contract with the owner. I cashed out my 401k from the engineering firm to put money down, and then we used some cash that that we had in our personal checking account to put down 20,000 on the building. And then we went into agreement with the owner that we would pay them every month. So I kind of put myself in a spot where like I could not retreat, and I was all in all at once. So I made the decision, I committed to it, and then we ran for it. So now I own this big building and it's empty. And I decided that, okay, so the guys are going to need stuff. Some of the things that they're going to need, I'm using my husband for reference because he's in the field. Um, so, he suggested the boots that he liked. I called the vendor directly, the manufacturer directly, and I asked if we could become a vendor. So this is where a little bit of sales comes into play because at this time I did not know, how important it is to be able to sell. I was in retail as a teen, and it kind of comes a little bit more naturally to me. So I sell them on the idea of opening me. I have no business experience. I have no money. And they tell me that the minimum opening order is $5,000. So I talk to my husband, I sell him on the idea, and I ask him if I can borrow the $5,000. He agreed, and then we went into a contract with Justin Boots at that time. So Justin was our very first brand. We brought them in, and then literally from that point forward, every customer that came in, I talked to, I told them our story. I shared how we are on the kind of the same because we were doing the same thing in the same industry and providing for the same people. So um, I asked questions directly to my customers, asking them what they wanted. And then I just did my best to get them exactly what they wanted. So through that process, I built a wonderfully large company really quickly. We were able to make our first million within 18 months of being in business. And then within the next year, we opened a second store, and the following year, we opened another store. So we were at 3 million annual revenue within 3.5 years, approximately, with 3 stores and 15 employees, and 2 little toddlers. They were babies when we started. So
Mhm.
that business ran for 10 years. And at the same time, I opened 2 others, Posada Realty for the property, and then Nationwide Welding, what is Josh's company. I play a supporting role in that business. And within his business, we were able to make it to our first million in revenue. I want to say it was at year 4. And then with his business, we've been able to hit some higher numbers faster, in the sense of, we had our first $100,000 week in payroll just a few years ago, and made our first million within a month on a project. So that business has been very successful as well. And so that's how I began my entrepreneurial journey. It's definitely a journey that'll continue to this current day. I became a business broker, and a business coach through the 10X business program. So my objective is just to support other business owners and help them to get through that solopreneur phase and into business ownership. Um,
Mhm.
and there are specific processes that can be executed to get you there. So, and the business book club. So the business book club was born of an idea because it's actually how I grew Utica so quickly. And where my whole idea of starting a business and being an entrepreneur began. My aunt gave me a book called Think and Grow Rich. Um, I want to
Good
say
book.
my early 20s. And that book
Mhm.
has been, it's, I hold a close place in my heart for it because every time you read it, You find new golden nuggets, and it's just a timeless classic. I feel like any entrepreneur you talk to has come across this book and read it and then found great success. So, if you haven't read it, I would definitely read it.
I have. I need to go revisit again. It's been a little while.
Yeah, yeah. I try to read it once a year. I have not read it this year yet, but this is a really great reminder to make sure that we maybe dig back into it in the book club. So then I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, a huge mind shift for me because I grew up in a single parent household, and I started working when I was 11. That's actually how I met my husband originally, because we just didn't have the funds. And I took it upon myself to proactively do something about it. So I started like cutting grass and walking dogs, what you can do when you're 11, to make some money so I could afford to buy stuff. And the so Rich Dad Poor Dad helped me shift in that way. And then when I started Utica, a very valuable book that I read was E-Myth, by Michael Gerber. That book helped me to understand what it means and the importance
What
behind
was the name of that? Oh, E-Myth. Yes, I know that one.
E-Myth. Yep, it's by
Great,
Michael
great
Gerber.
book. I just don't like the audio version because he's so calm when he reads it, puts you to sleep.
The person reading the
Yeah,
so yeah, that book really helped me understand the importance of building out systems within your company to help support the company its growth into business ownership. And the importance of giving customers the a consistent buying experience. So a very, very valuable book. So my point was is that I have found a lot of value in books. They're really inexpensive. Typically anywhere between $5 and $20. And as long as you read the knowledge and implement the knowledge, not only do you get your return on investment really easily, but also, it helps you to move forward in life and whatever your venture may be. So, the business book club was designed
good,
to do that, to use the knowledge within the books to be able to implement in real life and be able to build our businesses around other people's experience and knowledge.
great. Now let's jump back into. I took a couple of notes while we were talking. First thing you said that I caught my attention as I smacked my microphone again. Hang on.
Right.
The first thing I noticed is that you like the systematic thing with the not engineering but the architect. The My mind just went blank.
That's okay. The architectural and
You were an architect, right? Designing stuff.
I went to school for
Architectural engineering,
drafting and design, actually. I originally,
drafting and design.
yep, I originally wanted to be an architect, and I learned a lot of things the hard way, like I typically do. I learned that the school I went to was not, I could not transfer the credits when I applied for IIT. I was accepted. However, they said they wanted me to start all over. And at that time, I didn't have any money. I'm thinking like, how am I going to pay for college now? So I decided not to. However, it's never too late. Sometimes I think about going back and continuing my journey.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I was going to say about that. It's interesting because sometimes that systematic background, people don't think that a more systematic, I can't think of the word, background is bad for entrepreneurship. I think a lot of people picture entrepreneurs as these guys that just jump out there and the whole banana cart American dream. You get a cart, you sell enough, you get a bigger banana cart and bigger one, and eventually you have a bunch of banana carts in the store. And they don't really think about the systems, which that leads into, of course, the E-Myth, which is about systems. But can you guess who two of the best balloon artists who run a balloon YouTube channel teaching in the industry? They're industry professionals. They're some of the best balloon artists in the industry. Can you guess where they both worked before they came into the balloon industry?
Oh, I'm going to guess in engineering.
Yep, they were Samsung engineers.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense.
And their systematic approach, when I learned from them, helped me. Because, for example, a balloon bouquet
Hmm.
with helium, your standard helium balloon bouquet, you see them all over in movies, all over the place, proms, weddings, whatever. To make them look right, you need them nested exactly perfectly. Now, when I first learned, they said, well, you just hold the first one up, you mark a line, you hold this up, you mark a line, and you kind of look at them and you eyeball it. And no, these guys are like, okay, for the stacked size, if you want to stack, it's 7.5 inches exactly spaced every 7.5 inches, and you're perfect. And then if you want to staggered, it's exactly 10.5 inches precisely,
Yeah, the hate
which
perfections in the details.
saves so much time because you're not trying to make one and then estimate and then put marks on a wall and try to figure things out. It just, here it is, you're good. So I thought that was really, really cool. And I thought that was cool that you decided to go ahead and stay with your husband and work as a team, which is very, very key. I can't remember which one. Both are great books. I'm sure you've probably read both of them, The Millionaire Next Door
Uh-huh.
and The Millionaire Mind.
Yep.
Have you read those?
I've read The Millionaire Next Door. I don't
And
believe
you
I've read
know,
Millionaire Mind yet.
they're both great books. And I can't remember one, but one of those they talked about one of the most common, one of the top 10 things was they married well, as in they married the right person that worked together with them that they could rely and trust on. They didn't marry some wealthy duchess or something like that. It wasn't like marrying into money, it was marrying the right person.
Yeah.
And I think you guys did that just from what you told me.
Yeah.
And then these are just my observations from what you told me. You also did something which I actually got from. Did you ever see that kids movie Robots with Robin Williams as one of the voices?
I don't think so, actually. Tell me about it.
Well, it's about this young robot in the robot world that wants to become an inventor. He wants to invent something, and his big hero is this guy named Big Weld. Now, Big Weld is always talking about inventions and new inventions and helping people out with the inventions. And his motto, see if you can understand where I'm going with this, is if you see a need, you fill a need.
Absolutely. Yep.
And I think I did a whole episode on this concept a while ago about entrepreneurship that sometimes you just see a need and you fill a need. If you
Yeah.
see a spot that's open, you see somewhere that's not being served, you serve them.
Yeah.
And again, it's not just, oh, I want to get rich. I don't think you saw this need. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think you saw these guys working 7 days a week, crazy hours, needing help with logistics and go, oh, I bet you I can make a lot of money helping these guys out. Was that your first thought? Or was it like,
No.
these guys really need help? Maybe I can figure it out.
Yeah, that's a really, really great point because a couple of the things as I've grown as an entrepreneur, I've gathered is that there's a couple of things that you want to take into consideration when evaluating the gap, so to speak, because I almost make these like mental tick marks in my mind to whether or not if it's something that can become something real. And some of them is how many people are we serving? How are we serving them? And it is very heart based. I agree, because that is what is actually the driver when when things get tough, because it is a tough process. In the very beginning, there's a lot of push to get the metaphorical boulder rolling. And you have to have a really, really excellent why. Who are you serving and why? Why is it important? But the other side of that is also that you are able to serve a big enough number of people and learning to leverage other people to help to bring them into your mission, so to speak, to help move the boulder with you, because you can't do it on your own. I actually would like to say that I hired my very first hire was within the first few months, and I probably couldn't do it without her. Her name is Nicole. She was my right hand woman, and I showed her everything that I was doing, and she duplicated, just did exactly everything I was doing. And between the two of us pushing this boulder, and then Josh helped. Josh would go out into the field and tell everyone, oh, go check out my wife's new store. And then they would come in. So it was a group effort of people working together towards the same mission of supplying and supporting these gentlemen in the field and making things happen in the world. So yeah, a really excellent point, and I appreciate you mentioning that.
Yeah, and that actually follows a lot with Bob Berg, The Go Giver. Have you read that one?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah,
Because he talks about it's about serving, and I caught that because people, I think there's a different mindset with the most successful people, in my opinion, and from all my research, is a lot of people go talk about their clients and they talk about the clients and the sales and the money. And I picked up that you're not talking about the clients and the sales and the money as much as who are we serving? We're bringing people along to help us serve, and we're serving people that come along with. And I think that's really, really core in business growth. If you've listened a lot to my podcast, I do come back to this quite a lot, that when you're in business, you're serving people, you're serving your clients, you're providing a need, you're growing your business, you're providing for your employees. Even in the last couple episodes, I don't know if you heard my episode where I talked about the living wage and the myths surrounding it and all these other considerations. And it's my opinion that government should not be messing around with living wage. It's too complex from just a analytical viewpoint, because San Francisco is more expensive to live in than Oakland, which is more expensive to live in than, say, Nevada, which is more, you can't really set that. But
yeah.
my overall thing, I said, regardless of the government, pay your employees well, take good care of your employees,
Yeah.
serve your employees, regardless of what else does. Just as a recent example, because if you serve your employees, you're taking care of them, you're taking care of their families. Your business grows, you're taking care of your family. So that's really key, I think.
My husband's actually served as a really great example in doing that. One of the things that I've noticed him do is he's a welder, and he hires other welders to complete projects with him. And he never has a problem finding good welders to come work for him. And we very much so attribute that to not only does he pay well, but he also cares about them and their families. So we take those things into consideration, because if they're not properly cared for, why would they want to properly care for our company and support our mission? So we definitely, I guess that what I'm trying to say is that I've seen him do that through his company, and I've heard others say, if you pay well, then they stay. But I think it's a little bit more than that. It's about taking care of people who are helping essentially take care of you in a way. So it's kind of reciprocal. It goes back and forth.
Oh, I agree 100%, because pay is just one part of it. You can be well paid and be under a horrible boss, and you're not going to stick around.
Absolutely.
I've been in places where I've had decent pay, but the boss was horrible, and no, I didn't stick around because a horrible boss, the pay doesn't matter much.
Yeah. And I've been on both sides of that fence.
Now, I'm going to
Sure.
pause for 1 second.
Sure.
Welcome back, everyone, to the mid break. So, first of all, to start off, to remind everyone, if you missed it, I am moving back to the United States on August 24th of this year, 2025. And because I'm leaving and moving overseas, that's a big move. I have a lot of logistics I have to finish. I have to get my house packed down, my wife and kids go through all our stuff, sell as much stuff as we can, do all the packing, all the shipping ahead, everything we need to do. And we've only got just over a month to do that, even though as of today's date, June 25th, we have roughly 60 days. We have a lot of different family plans and stuff going forward that we are committed to. And then we have to move out of our current house. We have to clean the house, get it scrubbed. We got a lot on our plate right now. So because of this, going forward, unless I get an interview or something that I can do quickly, I'm not going to be doing any new content. That is because on average for a 35-minute episode or 25-minute episode, I usually spend 3 to 5 hours per episode just rewriting it, just to do the research, to get the data. I try to be as factual as I can, as informational as I can, as non-political as I possibly can be, even on hot button items such as tariffs or wages. They're political inherently. I try to just stick to data. So to do that takes a lot of research and a lot of effort, and I do hope you appreciate that. So with all of that, I don't have a lot of time to do that. Now, I am remastering my old episodes. That takes a lot less time, about 45 minutes to an hour to remaster and re-upload. So that saves time. But also I'm taking the opportunity to go through. I had a couple of series where I started a series and then I would do one episode and then I'd get distracted, do 2 different episodes, come back to the series, forget, go back. So my series didn't always flow in a cohesive, logical pattern. So when I'm remastering these, cleaning them up, pulling out all my etc., and taking out all the old commercials for the products I no longer am paid to endorse, all that, I fix it. But then I can also put this series all together back to back in a clean fashion so it's easier to follow. So I'm doing all that to at least provide you something of real value that you can have. And I thank you for your patience with me on this. This is a lot going in my private life, as you can tell. And for those of you that listen all the time and stay with me, I am super, super happy that you're sticking with me, that you're coming in. If you just found me, I'm thankful that you found me. I hope you enjoy. I hope this will help you build your business, help you in your life. My goal is to help you out here. So I just want to thank you for that. And speaking of, I have no new Patreons and no new Apple 5-star reviews to shout out. If you do drop a 5-star review, or if you join me on Patreon, I will shout you out in the mid-break episode. And even going forward, if you're a new Patreon or drop a new 5-star review, I will still take the time to create a mid-episode break, which I usually don't do for the remastered series, and put a mid-episode break in there and shout you out for sure. If you're supporting me, I will definitely take care of you and shout you out. Now, with one more thought on that, if you would like to just help me and my family out with this giant move, finances are kind of tight for this big of a move. It's not going to be easy. Then you can go ahead. If you want to just help us out and support us, I do have links in the description where you can help me out. You can email me. You can ask me directly. All those descriptions are there. And if you want, I have a givesendgo.com page, and it's givesendgo.com / capital NORWAY, capital U, capital S, lowercase MOVE. So Norway, US move on Give Send Go. If you would like to help us out and just donate some money to help us get our move and get us from Norway back to the States, that would be wonderful. And again, I will thank you so much for that. If you want to help out, that's another way you can help out. Thank you so much, and you have a great day. And now let's get back to the rest of this interview. Bye bye. Okay. Now, one more thing. You're definitely an entrepreneur when you talked about not having the money, jumping out, making a sell for something you didn't know you could sell. You embody the best quote about being an entrepreneur I've ever heard, which is an entrepreneur jumps off a cliff and attempts to build a plane on the way down.
Amen. I think it might be the best part.
Oh yes, that's quite the rush. And hopefully you don't go splat.
Yeah. And sometimes you do, but you just have to get back up and try again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what tends to happen is that if you think too long on an idea, you get that analysis paralysis and then never actually jumps. So that's actually, I remember the moment when I told myself for Utica Safety Apparel, I'm doing this because there's been ideas I've had in coming to that point in my life that I had just kind of kicked myself in the butt for not implementing. One was I when I would ride in on the metro to into Chicago every day, every morning, commuting into the engineering firm, I would watch people fumble around with the computers in their lap, literally sitting in their laps, trying to do work going in and coming out. And I thought to myself, they need something that they can sit on their lap that's, soft on one side, hard on the other, where they can work. And so I went in Chicago at that time, they had this commercial on television that allowed you to create your own inventions and you could go in and get it patented. It was a patent commercial. And so I called them and I said, I want to patent an idea. And I gave them the idea. And there's like a time frame that you can execute on it. Of course, I found out at that time that it cost $10,000 to patent something. So I dropped it because I didn't have the $10,000. And I was very early in my in everything, really. I was in my 20s and I just didn't know how to get the $10,000 for this patent. Lo and behold, after the expiration date expired on the contract, I see this thing everywhere, like literally in Staples. I'm like, that is my idea. What the heck? And then that's when I put it together. Okay, if I don't do it, somebody else is going to. And with Utica Safety Apparel, I had the idea and I have people that I want to help. And I thought to myself, because of course you want to retract, like it's a big new thing. It takes courage to jump out there and do something that you've never done before. And I thought to myself, if I do not do this now, then somebody else is going to. Why not it be, why shouldn't it be me? So then I boldly took my next step forward and then haven't looked back since.
So here's a question for you. I don't know if you ever thought about that, but have you read the book Good to Great by Jim Collins?
I have. I listened to the audio version. I don't think I ever finished it. Um, I've heard a lot of really great things about it, but it felt very statistical. And I didn't feel like I was getting a lot of value out of it, me personally. But that doesn't mean that there isn't value for others in it. So I just didn't finish it. What are your
I'll have to say the beginning's like that, but it starts getting better, especially when it starts getting into leadership and some of the more principal ideas.
Okay, wonderful.
In that he talks about his hedgehog idea,
Okay.
his hedgehog concept. And the basic idea goes back to this story. I believe it's an Aesop fable where the fox is trying to get the hedgehog. And every single day, the fox attacks and comes up with a new plan. First to go and try to sneak up in front of him, then behind them, then the side. Then he's a fox. He comes up with all these ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And the hedgehog only has one idea, which he does every single time, which is he rolls into a ball and presents spikes in every which way. And the fox can never get past his one hedgehog idea. No matter all the little plans he comes, he doesn't have one big idea that kind of holds it in. And so the hedgehog concept is what you do better than anything else. It might not be a big thing. You might not be the $1 billion Microsoft or Apple or whatever, but you have one core concept that makes you strong in the way you are. For example, he said that GE does a lot of stuff. They do electric, they build airplanes, they build, if I remember correctly, they build machine guns, they run electric companies, but their hedgehog idea, what they do best is create good leadership. They
Mm.
create good, solid leaders. That's their one thing they focus on is making good leaders. And then whatever division these leadership goes, because they've built the good leaders, everything else follows on that core key concept. So what do you think if you would think about it, what do you think your hedgehog thing is? What do you do best? What's that one thing?
I would say idea creation. Like you had mentioned already, kind of finding that gap and understanding the needs in the market. Um, and then I would also say customer service because I value people so much and I really want to see that people are taken care of. One of my It's almost to a fault when I go shopping now. Um, I I observe other retailers and restaurants and how people communicate with the customers and clients um and back to service again that it's I feel that a company that values and takes care of their clients will not struggle because those clients will just continue to come back to you. So it's almost a self perpetuating
Hmm.
motion that is created from supporting and taking care of others. So I would say customer service is definitely going to be my hedgehog thing that I see. I feel like in the world is slowly going away. And we see like other like profits and things like that as the driving factor. And I anticipate those companies that do not take that service seriously will not prosper very long.
Yeah, I absolutely agree on that. First of all, I think if I may try to sum up, I think your hedgehog concept is not customer service. It's not seeing needs. It's understanding the needs of people and understanding how to fulfill those needs, whether that be with clients, whether it be in a gap, or whether it be in taking good care of your employees.
Yeah, absolutely. I can get on board with that.
And speaking of employees, I think as an employer, there's a direct correlation between who your client is. I have an episode of when you're an employer, of course, in your situation, you still have direct clients, but when you're the boss, your biggest client is not the customer, it's your employees. Because if you take good care of your employees, they will take good care of your customers. And if your customers are taking good care of, they'll come back over and over and over again. And I've seen that a lot. I've seen companies that push customer service, customer service, customer service, then just treat their employees horribly. And then they wonder why their employees can't give good customer service.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree 100%. Yep. There was a book recently. I'm trying to remember. I want to say it was either in a 10X book that I recently read or in Donald Miller's book. But he talked about um, a new CEO came into Great America, and it was his job to turn around the performance of the company. And what he had done is he started with the staff and kind of he noticed that people were doing their jobs, but they didn't really look like they were enjoying their jobs. And through communicating with the staff, they distilled down what they felt like the problem was. And they had uh, mentioned that the janitorial staff was not very pleasant to deal with. And after speaking directly to the janitorial staff, he found out that they are very happy to do their jobs. They are, they love their jobs. However, they felt a conflict with the customers coming into the park because they didn't feel like they were respecting the work of the janitorial staff by just leaving things laying around and like basically they're having to clean up after other people. But kind of doing it grudgingly, like unpleasantly. And the CEO was able to communicate to them the importance of them doing their job well and what role they play in the process and how the customer satisfaction increases the attendance, which then in turn pays for their salary. Now, sometimes to people, like you and me who are business owners, we see that because we understand the whole entire chain of events and processes and how they all interplay.
Hmm.
However, to someone who may be just playing a role in your in your company, they may not understand how important their role is and how it plays into the intertwinings of the rest of the company. So through doing that communication, he was able to increase the pleasantness of the client and the janitorial staff interacting in the park, which in turn increased the overall happiness of the experience for the clients and customers, and in turn brought in new and better business and eventually turned around Great America.
I'll have to say that when it comes to that, I think there's something to be thought of as entrepreneurs. We wear all the hats.
Hmm.
When you start up, when you bootstrap, when you jump off that cliff, you're your own accountant, you're your marketing department, you're your sales department, you're your supply chain and logistics department. You do everything. So no matter what, as you grow, you always have that big picture stuck in your head. No matter what, you've done
Yep.
it all, you understand it all. It's part of your DNA, as it were. It's just there. Now, I think the challenge would be for people listening to this podcast would be as you grow, don't forget to let everyone know and keep everyone with a big picture understanding of why we're doing this, how everyone works together as a team, all this sort of thing. Because if you all get the big picture, you're going to see a lot more. And I got a personal example about that, which I actually talked about recently in one of my podcasts, which was we had this girl working for us, and I was in a leadership position, and this girl was a little bit of a scofflaw, a little bit of an attitude. We had a strict dress code, no visible tongue piercings. She would come in with a tongue piercing, thinking no one's going to look into her mouth, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So one day I just took her aside and said, you know what? I'm a nice guy. I'm not on you all the time. She's like, yeah. She goes, you know what my job is? She goes, what? My job is to make sure that you do your job. And if you're not doing your job, that makes me get in trouble for not doing my job. So if you can think about that, just if you could go ahead and please take that out, because that shows that I'm doing my job. If you want to help me out, do my job. I'm not trying to be mean. These are the rules. We're just going to take care of it. She agreed to that, and she goes, okay, yeah, no, I understand now. A couple hours later, when the other guys came in and came up to me and goes, Isaiah, what did you tell her? I'm like, why? Because I've never seen her work so hard. I think she's even sweating because I just painted the big picture that we weren't asking her to follow the rules because we're being mean or just being jerks. It was we're a team and our job is to have you do your job. That's what we're paid to do. And then we're all working together, and it changed the whole dynamic. So that was a kind of the painting the big picture in a kind way, because I wasn't yelling at her, I wasn't screaming at her. It was, hey, I'm a nice guy. I'm not trying to bust you or anything like that. I'm not jumping on you. We're going to be nice about this. This is just how things are. Not that I've always succeeded in doing that. I did that on my servant leadership episode, which I either posted today or is going to post here soon. I can't remember. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that that's and it's so funny because I think that sometimes we forget that, we hire people and we put them in their positions. We say, this is your role and these are your duties and responsibilities. But it's also important to inform them of how important their role is in the entire wheel because one thing affects another, and how they perform will affect how the next person is able to do their job and the next person is able to do their job. And sometimes it just takes a moment to explain that because, like you said, we see the big picture because we're building it. However, if they're put into their spot with blinders on, they're just going to do their job and not understand that, it directly impacts the entire group as a whole, whether it be in a negative way or a positive way. So of course we want to lean towards gearing people to how their work is positively impacting the company. But yeah, it's just a good reminder that we need to, um, remember that in building your company, when you start, like you said, we wear all of our hats, and the over time, the objective is to start to bring people into different positions to help support the growth of the company. There's actually a really great book that I love. It's called Traction by Gino Wickman, and he has a whole series of these books. They're all geared towards building an organization, and he explains very clearly on how to implement putting people in the right places and giving them the right jobs and the moving people forward in a systematic way. So, and he even goes as far as like how to conduct a meeting so it's productive because, we all know that once we start bringing in more and more people, if we're not intentional about how we communicate with each other and how we're implementing, it's easy to kind of get lost in doing the work and not necessarily moving forward. So there's a lot of talk about tracking, understanding your KPIs, and things like that. So
Mm-hmm.
when you're in the bootstrap phase, you're in the process of getting the boulder moving, which is the hardest part. But from
Mm-hmm.
you have to be able to delegate positions, build out positions, systemize the process.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely a few books that I would recommend for that. It would be E-Myth is a really great overall idea
Mm-hmm.
of it's more focused on creating franchises, but the whole process can be used the same in starting the very first one. And I feel like the sooner you start to build those processes and you can start giving you more consistent experience, the better. Even if it's just you. And then um and then Gino Wickman's Traction series of books is a really great one to read and understand and implement within your business. So if you're just starting, I would definitely read those, kind of look ahead to those, and not only be providing your service on a daily basis, but also to niching out some time in your day to work on your business. Otherwise, you're always stuck in that solopreneur spot, which we want to work our way out of as soon as possible because it's hard doing everything on your own. And you don't have to do everything on your own. So we
Yeah. And and no, to go with that, you mean cut yourself. It's hard to just let go of that. Have you read the Dave Ramsey's book, Entree Leadership?
no, I have not.
Well, he talks about how somebody told him because he was having struggles delegating and getting his people to the point where they could really make decisions on their own, empowering his employees to fix problems without having to come to him all the time. because we both have kids, and kids come to us for every little problem. Oh no, my shoe's not quite tied right. Help, mommy, help. We have to teach them how to tie their shoe right and figure things out and do things by themselves without having to check. Daddy, I need you to come wipe my butt. No, you need to learn how to wipe your own butt. Thank you. Right?
Yep, I remember those days. Now, right now, for
So,
personally, it's about cooking. They
yeah. So, but he would always have employees come in, and he said somebody taught him that if someone, imagine everyone having a different like farm animal with them, and they come in with their problem, and that's their farm animal. And if you're not careful, they're going to leave their farm animal behind, and pretty soon you have an entire farm living in your office.
Yes, yes, I've done this. Yep.
And then he says, if you can empower your employees, train them to be systematic, or and also give them freedom to teach them not what to think, but how to think would be a good way to put it.
Mhm.
Teach them how to think about what's going on. If they understand your company's core mission and values, and they can operate freely within those core mission and values. He said he had some employees that came all the time. He started doing this. At first was Dave, Dave, Dave. What do we do, Dave? Dave, Dave. Mommy, 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 mommy. What type of thing? And then it switched to, hey, we have a problem, and we think we should do this and this and this. Before it was, Dave, we have a problem. What do we do? Then it was, Dave, I think we have a problem. We think we should do this. To, hey, Dave, we had a problem. We solved it. Thanks. Bye. Which is kind of the goal on that end. Now I'm
Absolutely.
going to make a little bit of a hard shift as we're kind of running long here. Maybe we can do this again because I really like your insight to entrepreneurs. Now, I want to focus on something because this podcast is my kind of a free way to be a business coach. I love helping people. My superpower, my hedgehog concept is I can take high level concepts, digest them, and then break them down into simple to understand things. That's what I do. That's my kind of thing.
I love it.
So, how do you become a business coach? Can you tell me more about this 10x thing, and tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I've done is I've partnered with Grant Cardone. He is an extravagant, well-established, self-made billionaire. He primarily focuses on multifamily apartments. He does very large transactions, many doors. So he actually has a education and coaching real estate coaching program that he brings people into, and you can actually invest in business in apartment buildings with him. It's through capital. Uh, I'm sorry, it's through. I just drew a blank on the name of Cardone Ventures. So through Cardone Ventures, you're able to invest in multi-unit real estate alongside them, and they pay out like a monthly dividend. So that's one thing that he does. And then another thing is that he offers the 10x business coaching program. I originally signed up about 20 months ago, so I'm coming up on 2 years. And what they do is they have this really excellent team of trainers and coaches internally, and they support us as coaches. We have tools through Grant. He has what's called Cardone University, where he focuses on sales, marketing, mindset, which is huge when it comes to business. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and marketing and sales are the essentials for, especially when you're first starting. And then we offer uh, a multitude of different trainings and programs through the Grant Cardone organization. And as a 10x business coach, if you are interested in working with someone like myself, we do one-on-one coaching, one to many, we call it, in group coaching, and we do organizational coaching, which allows us to come into your organization and offer sales and marketing training to your staff directly. Yeah, and I don't know if you want me to continue, but I can give pricing. I can, but that's the gist of it. And I guess the 10x coaching in itself is a mindset and a way of thinking. So we have this program, it's called the 10x Super Life. And within the 10x Super Life, it is designed to help individuals 10x every aspect of their life, because I find a lot of entrepreneurs will focus on their career and building out the company and, making money, because why? Everybody hates their own reasons. The 10x Super Life helps people to expand that. So not only are you expanding your career, your business, your income, but you're also expanding that into your family and into all the different aspects, your health. They have actually what's called 10x Health, where you can go in and you can get a geno test and have the results and the proper vitamins that you may need as you age recommended to you. So 10x Health is another portion of that. But so for me personally, I've been implementing all of the 10x principles into my life, and it's very similar to your concept as far as like taking really complex ideas and simplifying them. These principles are all on the very base level of like how we operate. Things like showing up and getting attention. Um, I'm trying to give examples, but these are the very basic principles that are easy to remember and then implement on a daily basis. So yeah, that's a little bit about 10x and what we are doing in the world.
Okay, my kids are now home, so we need to go ahead and wrap up. So if you'd like, tell people how they can find you, tell about the Business Book Club, which is just the Business Book Club on Facebook groups, and anything else you'd like for people to find you, reach out to you, anything that you would like to shout out.
Sure. So if you are interested in working with me in 10xing your life and doing the one-on-one or group coaching, I can be found at dingconsulting.com, where we offer business coaching and consulting services. So that would be the best place to reach me.
Okay, thank you so much for coming today, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
If today's episode added value to your day, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment and consider giving us a stellar 5-star rating on your favorite podcast platform. Whether it's Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, or more. And remember, if you leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcast, I will personally read it out in the next episode. To support the show, you can make a one-time gift by buying us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/bootstrap, donate through PayPal at paypal.me/IOCPOD, or make a contribution on our Patreon page at patreon.com/IOCPOD. Your support keeps the episodes coming. For even more content and exclusive perks, join our Patreon community at patreon.com/IOCPod. Patrons enjoy ad-free episodes, access to our private Discord server, early content previews, and a lot more. And here's an exciting offer. Get your free trial of our $5 a month Bootstrapper Community Explorer tier. This exclusive tier grants you ad-free content, Discord server access, and early content previews. Join us and be part of the inner circle. If you're feeling more generous, those who join tiers $25 a month and up will have a chance to be a featured guest on this podcast. A massive thank you to Wintergotten for generously providing the incredible intro and outro music at no cost. We appreciate their support. Be sure to check out Wintergotten's amazing work on YouTube at youtube.com/@Wintergotten. Until next time, I'm your friendly neighborhood entrepreneur, Isaiah O'Connor, signing off. This is the O'Connor Bootstrap Podcast, brought to you by Athos Business Solutions. For our companion podcast, the Athos Business Podcast, hosted by Jason St. Clair, along with past episodes and related blogs, visit our website at athos.com. That's ATHEOZ.com or theoz.com. Goodbye for now.